Hello and welcome to the fabulous Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi, the location for this year's Young Driver Test. Over the next 2 days, we'll go behind the scenes as we watch the teams put the next generation of potential Formula One drivers through a series of tests to uncover the next superstar. Ask any of the team principals whether outright speed is the sole requirement, and they'll tell you that consistency, feedback and attitude are equally important. Still, a few record times wouldn't hurt a driver's chances of securing a seat for next season. And right on cue, the first engine of the day has fired into life right below my commentary box. So I think we'll soon see a car out on track.
Hey, good to see you again. As your race engineer, it's my job to support you this weekend. When you're out on track, we'll remain in contact via radio. I'll feed you information as and when you need it. As discussed in the team briefing, we're not looking for outright speed to begin with, so just take your time. Follow my instructions and you'll do great. I'll just check the lads are ready. We'll attach comms when you're in the car. Okay, let's get you strapped in.
Hello viewer, and welcome to my F1 Mega Career Mode, which is going to span from F1 2012 to F1 2021. Or 2022, depending on when I get it done, but here's hoping. You joined me in the Young Drivers Test on our last lap. There wasn't really any highlights to show you, so I'm just going to finish off on the final lap, which is going to show we get a silver medal. Not the gold that I wanted, because we were in fact about 1/10 off getting the gold medal, which would have got us the Williams drive, but instead we're going to be driving for either Toro Rosso or Force India. We're about to see now. I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but we do so good in our Young Drivers Test that applause is what we get from the McLaren race engineers, so that's very good news to be seeing this early on in our career, that we're getting praise. The team we signed for in the end was, as we can see from this reveal, Force India. Didn't want to go for Toro Rosso. I thought having Force India would be a good contract to sign for our first season. We're going to be partnered up with Paul di Resta, so a double British duo. An interesting teammate, I think, to base ourselves against. A fairly midfield driver, Paul di Resta, but I think it will be a challenge for our first season, as we get a nice email there from Vijay Mallya welcoming us to the team. So for the first race of the season, we're heading to Australia at Melbourne. Hopefully we'll have a good rookie debut here. Not much interesting to say in practice. I think we came 18th, Paul di Resta a couple of places ahead. Not really any incidents to show, so we're going to move straight on to qualifying for our first competitive laps of the season and of our career. Hopefully it goes well. Team giving us the objective to finish 12th or above, which, given the car, not a bad objective to go for, but seeing as it is our first race, are we going to meet it? I'm not too sure just yet. As we exit the pits for our first lap first competitive lap in our career. So you join me coming up to the penultimate corner of the lap, dipping our tyres into the grass, making them a little bit more grassy than they were. I think I had to get out of the way of a car, so hopefully that's not going to affect us too much into Sector 1 as we set up for the lap. DRS in this season, you can deploy it wherever you want, not just in the designated zones, as you will have to in the race, anywhere you want. And we deploy all the curves we can going into Turn 1, and to be honest, I just blatantly cut the corner. The restrictions I did put on rules and flags should be on realistic. Not sure how we've gotten away with that as we head down into Turn 3. Pretty decent entry, a little bit late on the throttle. And that's something I've had to take off quite a few races to get used to, because there's not really much wheel spin in this game. You have to really push the car to get wheel spin. As we head down to the right-hander of Turn 6, bringing the car around for Turn 7, and then the shallow cornered Turn 8, heading down into Turn 9, which is a pretty heavy braking zone. One I've struggled on over the course of the race, as you'll see later on. A pretty decent exit onto the back straight, using a little bit of curves so we can maximise our top speed. going down into turn 11. Can we hook up this little complex? Pretty well, to be fair. A little bit of runoff so we can maximise top speed. Fuel's running out, so I think I'm only going to get one lap in. This is also a corner I have a little bit of a struggle. A little bit cautious into this one, I have to say. Quite early on the brakes, and I still dip my front right into the grass as I do again for turn 14. 15, another one, which is a little bit shaky for me. Don't do it quite as well as I could have done, considering this is my first time in these cars doing a competitive lap. And across the line then, Senators are 128.8, and we're one of the first people to start laps. So we ended in 4th. We've beaten our teammate and a lot of cars around us. So not a bad lap. I was so confident in fact that I skipped the rest of the session. We did make it to Q2. So you join me for our next lap, see if we can replicate that lap time, because it was good enough to head into, to at least get our objective. I'm not sure about Q3, but we could at least match that P12 objective the team set. So we head down into turn 1, and already just not, we didn't cut the corner like we did last time, but it's still not a fantastic speed we would have wanted as we head down into turn 3. Getting a little bit cautious, and so much in fact that I do lock the brakes up, and so I'm trying to gain time back and basically cut the corner going into turn 4. Do 5 pretty well, don't run over the curb and lose some time as we head down to turn 6, just dipping the tyres into the grass. I think I'd do the same going into turn 8 here, just dip it on the inside, and it's not going to bode well going into turn 9, as we'll see, because I get on the brakes, I just don't have the grip. I'll just do a little bit wide, go down into first, so we're going to be losing time all the way down this straight into turn 11. So not the greatest lap that I would have wanted going into Q2. This was the only lap I did in Q2 as well. A big mistake there. I'm trying to gain time going through the 11-12 complex, just go wide, and I think we know at this point that it's not going to be a fantastic lap if we didn't know before. So as I'm trying desperately to get any time back I can whatsoever, again dipping my front right into the grass. Coming into turn 15, again no grip on the tyres, pretty poor entry, and you need to hook up those 2 corners to get a good exit for the straight. Just going to give you a better quality time. We did not do that, so it's going to be a bad lap. So much in fact we don't improve, so nowhere near our Q1 time. About 2 seconds off, our teammate goes ahead of us, and we are last in the drivers knocked out in Q2. So disappointing first qualifying session, to be honest. If we'd managed to replicate the lap that we did in Q1, the story probably would have been a lot different. We may have been into Q3, or perhaps we even may have met the team objective of 12th place. So teammate 2 places ahead of us going into the race. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work to see if we can get ahead of our team into the first race of the season. 15th is the team objective, so I hope we can meet or surpass that. As we head then to 5 red lights, marking our first race of our career and of the season. The lights are out and away we go. We get a decent start off the line, matching those cars around us. DiResta ahead, just moving over to block the cars on the inside. A little bit of a space opening up as we hear a bit of a crash behind us. Pretty deep. Massa going slowly on the inside, so we take that. Vern as well, we go take him. DiResta's just trying to look to get past Ricciardo, but we're boxed in, so we can't make any positions there. As Perez goes slowly, Ricciardo and DiResta going around them. A little bit of contact. Surprised we didn't lose any of our front wing there. DiResta going slowly because Ricciardo's backing him up, pushes into us. We're going to go for the move down turn 5. We managed to get it done somehow. Ricciardo going slowly because of Kobayashi ahead. We go round the outside and managed to get that move completed. Kobayashi with a little bit of contact from Grosjean, which is going to allow us to go down the outside. It's going to be a bit of a duel going into turn 9. There's a side-by-side. He brakes early, gives us the position. So lap 1. Or just in half a lap we've taken 7 cars, so that's bodes well for the rest of the race. We're already in the points. We're going to have to now try and chase down Grosjean as we jump ahead to the next lap, where we're under a bit of a threat from Kobayashi, but ahead Michael Schumacher puts a move round the inside of Maldonado. which is going to slow everyone up and hopefully give us a bit of an opportunity to pass Grosjean as we both go wide. Going around the back, Sparks flying off the Lotus as we head down into turn 6. On the inside curve pretty nicely and straighten it out on 7 so we can get a little decent run through 8. Still behind Grosjean as we try and dive down the inside, which is a bit ambitious to be fair. Maldonado looking to get the position back from Schumacher, which caused Grosjean to back up into us, but not an opportunity to overtake. We're just not close enough just yet. So we dip our tyres in the right side again. Oh, you can just see, as soon as you put your tyres in the grass, you just lose so much grip, and that just allows Kobayashi to look for a move down the inside because of a lack of grip. Again, not the best corners into 13s. It just allows the Lotus ahead to pull a bit of a gap. So we come into 15, pretty late on the brakes, but doesn't give us any better run out into the start-finish straight. We had to slow down, in fact, to try and make the corner so we don't run wide. You can just see the cars ahead just beginning to go into the distance as we come under threat from Kobayashi into turn 1. Doesn't go for the move, and we almost cut the corner, so you have to look out for that so we don't pick up any penalties. Onto the DRS straight. I don't think Kobayashi's close enough to put any moves on us. So we head down into turn 3. Grosjean, a bit of contact from Maldonado. So we're not going to be able to close the gap as much as I would have liked to capitalise on that mistake, but at least we're a little bit closer as we head down into turn 6. Entry's looking pretty good. Exit not fantastic as the Lotus just starts to slip away. And as we get further into the race, the more times I get a bad exit is really going to harm our chance of getting positions. As we get a little bit of encouragement from our race engineer to try and get this move done. Not sure if we're going to be able to do it without any significant help. As whoa, we can't. My excuse would be for that is we're trying to avoid an incident as Grosjean almost plows into Maldonado. I'm going to look down the inside for a move. I don't quite get it. I just take it too much of an inside line going around 13 to open up 14, which is why Sector 3 is probably my weakest on this track. For once we get a pretty decent run through 15 coming up 16, but the power on the Lotus just sends it off into the distance, and you can just about see that Grosjean's putting a move on Maldonado. It doesn't quite... Oh, it goes in the inside and plows into the back of Maldonado, so we're going to have to try and use this as a opportunity to gain some time on the two drivers ahead. Kobayashi looking, Grosjean going to the outside to try and look for a way round. Hits Maldonado again, and this is the closest we've ever been to the Lotus as we cut the corner. He was blocking the track would be my excuse. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. As we head down into turn 6, and I'm really trying to get past at this point because this is the closest we've ever been to the Lotus, and I think, as you can just see there, as soon as we get to anything remotely straight, they just start to pull away. So the corners are where I'm really trying to make it up. I'm unsure whether we cut the corner on that one, but it was marginal. I think luckily on this game the curbs aren't too punishing, so you can do that kind of thing. As Grosjean tries to put a move on the outside of Maldonado, and yet again hits him. So I think this is one of the only opportunities we're going to have on us straight to pass Grosjean. So we go down the inside, keep it off the grass, push. You can see that I was clearly flustered about going around the outside because I've hit the button to change the camera instead of looking behind. So we'll have to drive in the T-cam view, which is a view you don't see very often these days because of the halo. We get the move done, but we're going to be on a straight, and that's our weakest point on the circuit, to be honest, because of the power difference. I think I set the gear ratios wrong, so you can just see Grosjean looking down for a move on the inside. Eventually bails out of it, so we get to keep it. As Hamilton is a 131.8, and we're probably not going to come anywhere near that in the course of our career. As we head to a few laps later, can we keep the position from Grosjean while I go wide, and that allows him to mirror our kind of move that we did on him the lap previous, but he bails out of it. Kimi Raikkonen ahead going slowly, and that'll be why. He's got a bit of a brake problem, and you can see the brake problem going into this corner, because look how far we just closed the distance. He was so far ahead. clearly some issues on the Lotus there, but as soon as it comes to the straight, we just see him prance off into the distance, and we've got to defend from one behind. So we push him to the inside, and he breaks out of it. Again, I've missed the button to look behind and instead changed the camera to the T-cam to come to the DRS straight. I think somehow, I'm not quite sure, but the Sauber gets past Grosjean, and the braking issue from Raikkonen again clearly visible here as he just runs wide. I thought this was a bit of a rough move at the time, which is why I had to look at replay, but he does go off on the outside on his own, so clearly having issues with his brakes, can't get the car slowed down. Can we keep the position from Raikkonen though? That is the question. Wow, coming into turn 9, just lock the brakes up, go wide, and despite Kimi having brake issues, it's not going to stop him from going as fast as he can, as Kimi goes round the outside, pushing us to the inside. Again, flustered. I change it to the T-cam instead of looking rearwards, and I don't get the opportunity to change it until we get to the straight, but Kimi's still there, looking for a move on the inside. Kobayashi behind. Do we get a decent, or we don't? 13 going very slowly as we try and defend the position from Kimi Raikkonen. And great call from the engineers. This was the time to pit, as we can just see on the penultimate corner. Try and get the car stopped, no grip on the tyres to help slow down the car as we come into the pits. We're going to need a good stop then, because we've got some cars behind, and as we are the first round of pit stops, we need to get a decent outlap to protect our position. A 4-second stop because we're held up by the Sauber, I think of Kobayashi and then Ricciardo pitting. But more importantly, we keep the position from Raikkonen behind as we come out onto the circuit for our outlap. I think we're going to cut away now to the next lap as we come down the straight. All the cars who pitted on this lap coming out as we get we just squeezed Massa. We managed to get the position, but we came into the pits in 8th and came out 10th, so our teammate, as we can see, managed to get the overcut on us by staying a lap later, so our outlap must have been pretty poor, but he's got to warm up his tyres so we don't make that much of a big deal about overtaking him. But he's still there. Can we hang on for it? As our race engineer says, 6 positions ahead of where we were expected to finish, so not bad. Can we hang on to it though is the question. As we get pressure from our teammate behind, and I'm making a bit of a meal about defending, as we can see going into turn 15. Just get a little bit slow, which is going to make us a little bit vulnerable on the start-finish straight as the rest just flies by. Not that much of a difference going into the braking zone. He's got to brake early, so we managed to get the position back. He's side by side in the DRS zone, so he's going to have an advantage. Can we replicate the move into turn 1 by just getting him on the brakes? We can. We're side by side. I'm a little bit hesitant to turn in. I thought I was going to crash into him, so he gets the position for now. A little bit angry at this point because our teammates got ahead of us. The thing is, we were ahead for the majority of the race, so we put it in rich mix for the first time to try and use up some of this excess fuel. Dresta heavily defends the inside and compromises his line down into 8. So we're going to get a run down into the heavy braking of turn 9. He goes on the inside, but he forces us to the outside and almost pushes us off. But we don't get the best one onto the back straight, but we are ahead. So we come to the end of the lap. He's got the DRS at this point, so we use a little bit of curves to try and defend. Grosjean with a 131.4, so that's how the difference between us and the Lotus. Getting fastest lap. Dresta again down the inside, and we try and brake. But a little bit of overspeed, and that just opens Dresta up. He's ahead by the DRS line, so the whole move of trying to get this back is going to be going around the outside, but he defends it. He's got much more room this time, and we don't really have a gap to get past, so Paul Dresta in P9, our teammate ahead, fair and square at this point. There's no tyre differences to try and come back. He's going to defend the inside of this corner very heavily again. So can we get the move back? He goes on the inside. I think this time he just starts the drift over to the left so we can't use the outside again. But we take a very bold move down the inside. Almost pushing him off the track, but uses a bit of curb to stay on. The teammate battle then getting a little bit heated in our first race of the season. So Hopefully that means we have the pace to match or even beat Paul di Resta going into the rest of the season. So I think we're just going to cut away now to a few laps, a few corners ahead. And again, this corner just locked the brakes up. We have a bit of a contact with our teammate at this point. And I think that's the last we see of di Resta, if I'm honest. He just begins to head into the distance. And that's going to set a bit of a precedent for getting overtaken on the start-finish straight, because the very next lap, Massa behind, we can just see him beginning to close the gap. I think he's going to go down the inside, defend way too early, and just open up the gap for Massa to come through around the outside. I cut the corner. Very surprised I didn't get a penalty. I can assure you that realistic rules and flags are on. Vern's looking down the inside, trying to get a position. We are now out of the points, and I don't think we're going to be able to overtake Massa. So our hope is that he has a battle with our teammate, slows him down so we can retake 10th. But as we head down into turn 13, that same lap, I just understeer into the corner, try and get back onto the circuit. Vern's quite keen to get the move done, ploughs into us and loses his front wing. We don't get penalised for it, because I think it was just his eagerness to get past. Again, a repeat of the Massa incident. I think Perez is going to go down the inside, I go and defend, it leaves the outside open. Because we're on the inside, we've compromised our line out into the straight after going down into turn 3. He gets the position, losing all the time down the straight. So Rosberg has a go, and we've had an absolute stinker. So the start-finish straight is probably the weakest point on the track, and you can see tyre wear's becoming an issue at this point, because I'm understeering at turn 6. Only a few, I think this might be the last lap, but yeah, just tyre wear awful for me at this point. Someone retired or had a late pit stop, which brings us back into P11, but Kobayashi behind might even take P11 from us at this point. The points, P10 is far up the line, so it's all about defending this position. Get a pretty poor run out of 12, so we're going to have to defend, dip our tyres on the right. Kobayashi bails out of the move, because I think we were drifting over a little bit too much. I think we might have to consider that one as a... Consider ourselves lucky that wasn't a penalty, because if this was real racing, I think we would have been penalised, as we a bit of a dismal turn into 15 on the final finish straight. Using all the curves we had to defend, seeing as this was the weakest point on our track, I thought I was going to need it to keep the position. But we come home in P11, and not a terrible Grand Prix, to be honest. It's a bit disappointing that we didn't finish in the points, but considering this is our rookie season, to be one place out of the points, not a bad result if you ask me. So Perez and Massa managed to get the move done on di Resta. Finished 40 seconds behind the leader, and our fastest lap was nowhere near the fastest lap of the race, or even anyone really in the top 10. Our teammate was our whole second ahead, and everyone else was probably 2 seconds clear of us anyway, so a pretty decent result for P11. Shame we couldn't finish it off in 10th. But there we are, the first race of the season. I need to go and record the voiceovers for the next couple of races I think I've got footage for, so I do very much appreciate you watching this video. I think it's a bit early on to ask for subscribers and likes, but if you did enjoy this video, keep an eye out, because there will be at least 3 more on the way. The only thing that's left to say is thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you around next time, and seeing as it is one of the first videos in this series, put a comment below for comments about improvement, and I do genuinely hope to see you in the next video. So thank you very much, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.